Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday Mornings. And I am Matthew Kadish, the producer of the Salty Nerd Podcast, coming at you today with a variety of topics and a whole new expert panel of experts. Yes, I know what I said. Let me introduce them. Matt Vader, 74, and my brother from another mother. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, man. The wife just showed up with the Mondo cup of cold brew, and I need like 5 minutes. Chug that, get it kick in, we'll be good. So, yep.
Yes, we're all still waking up here over on the West Coast. Film professor Sean Collette, the Crabapple critic. Thank you for joining us on your first Saturday morning live stream, sir. How are you doing today?
All right. It's not my first. I've been here twice, I think.
Yep. You've been on my Thursday stream.
No, I've been here Saturday morning twice too.
Well,
I think so.
Be very forgettable then, because I don't.
Yeah, I know. I was hiding in the back. Yep.
Yes. But you were responsible for training the next generation of filmmakers out here in Las Vegas. So we thank you for your service and also your insights, sir.
Thank you.
And the man, the myth, the legend himself, Culture Casino, making his Saturday morning debut as well, unless my brain is completely gone. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. This has been a lovely morning. I'm one tumbler in of coffee. I have to do another one of these, and then I will be in good shape. But I think that's the problem with everybody today. So we're good to go. I'm excited. This should be a lot of fun. We got some great subjects.
And our returning expert panelist from the Popcast, Brian Montgomery. How you doing, buddy?
Not bad. I'm not sure about the word expert, but I'm here.
Well, so normally we've been devoting these shows to talking about Star Trek and the Orville and all that stuff. But Vader has gotten tired of such things. And so we decided to switch up the format a little bit and talk about kind of like more topical topics or trending topics. And today we've got a big show planned out for you guys. But just so you know, we are expecting Tom Connors Jr. to at some point join us should he decide to wake up and become conscious midway through his day. So hopefully he'll be able to join us, but if not, he will definitely be on in the future. So guys, today we are talking about a variety of topics. The first is going to be the new Rings of Power trailer that dropped. We're also going to talk about the new Robocop video game. We're going to be talking about Netflix on the downswing and how they're partnering up with Microsoft to bring ads to the platform. Yay! We're also going to talk about the Gremlins director having choice words for Baby Yoda. And of course, last but not least, we're going to be talking about Riva from the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series. So got a lot to talk about today. But first, I just want to go around, and if anyone has anything they want to plug to let our audience know. Brian, I know that you've got a new video coming out. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about that?
Yeah, the video was supposed to launch this morning, but it's just impossible to edit 40 hours of work in 20 hours. So it's going to be going out tomorrow morning, and it's pretty awesome. It's actually was inspired by an article that Matt wrote. You wrote, Matt. And it's basically the history. I don't want to kill it, but it's basically the history, but it's the entire story about when we stopped Star Trek up until now, and it's really fascinating. We originally we were gonna make this video just about the sort of real, I don't want to say the word culprit, but the real problems that led to Discovery, one of the worst Star Trek show ever made. And after reading your article, there was so much information there. Shane just kept going, and like a week later, there was a full documentary. So here we are.
Awesome. So it's going to be coming out tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning, yeah.
On the main Popcast channel.
On the main channel, yeah. / the Popcast.
You're really stroking his ego right now, because it's like one of his books is getting adapted into a movie. That's kind of how I'm hearing what I'm hearing right now.
Oh, is it one of those XXX parody movies? Are you talking about?
No. He's talking about you taking my article and adapting it.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it a movie, but it's like a little mini doc. If you've seen our stuff, we put a lot of effort into it. So
yeah, they're good stuff.
Culture, do you have anything coming up that you'd like to inform the audience about?
Wow, just the channel. I mean, the main channel, which I give you 4 videos a week plus 3 or 4 live streams, depending upon if you stay up late at night on Sunday nights. And I have a new channel, a DIY channel that I just launched called Cultured Builds. But other than that, you can find me everywhere at Culture Casino on the socials, on the YouTubes, on the Rumbles, on the Odysseys. So yeah, that's me promoting myself. I stink at it. So there you go.
I've been a fan of Cultures for a long time, but the problem is I can never go on his channel because he's always on when I'm at work, like most everything else. But when I do get on his channel at lunch breaks, I'll make a comment or something, and Culture always never fails to like give us some hard plugs for the podcast. I always appreciate it, man. It's always awesome. And we met a couple times up here in Vegas at the meetups and stuff, and it's always fun. So I'm very happy you're here.
I'm glad to be here. The invitation was eagerly accepted. Let's put it in those words.
Yeah. And we're also excited to announce that Brian will be joining us in the Salty Nerd Studios for our August 2nd recording of the Salty Nerd podcast. He'll be filling in for Alex, who has a family obligation, but we're actually looking forward to having him actually be in the studio with us and kind of like talking with us and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm just I'm really afraid of getting molested by Vader, but we'll see how it goes.
You should be more concerned about Jude. So, Sean, I know that your Crabapple Critic channel isn't exactly launched yet, but is there anything you want to share about what you're up to?
Well, I'm developing a film right now that I'm going to be shooting during the semester. I was going to shoot it during the summer, but I had to delay it because some things suddenly came up and I had to take care of those. But yeah, so I'm going to be. It's a 30-minute short, and a lot of it is going to be virtual sets, which I have some good amount of experience in. And now with the new technology and getting into Unreal Engine 5, I'm going to take it there because I've hopefully by this fall semester, I'll have the equipment in the school to start teaching virtual production in UE5 also. So if
we
not,
may have to,
it'll be the spring.
We may have to tap you to direct some episodes of Viking Cop for us.
That'd be fun. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. But it was funny when Brian mentioned the molestation by Matt. I remember the first time the second time I met you in person, when I met you guys at the coffee shop. It was so funny. And I was waiting for the reaction that I never got because he didn't know what to do. Remember, I came in and I sat down right next to you, like super close. And we were kind of like this, and I was just waiting for him to freak. And he just stood there he was just like, I'm cool with this. All right. And then suddenly we all moved into the other room at the table where we could get some room. So it just brought me like a flashback. I was hoping take the bait next time.
But a very secure masculine man.
Yes, he is. Yes, he's very,
no
very.
problem.
It's like
all right. So real quick, I want to shout out the people who have joined us in chat. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, thank you for being here, sir. Orwell's son, David Farnsworth, how you doing, buddy? Keely Chow, Andre Enrico, Joker Voice, hashtag keep talking, Chris White, Luke Korolowitz Art. Thank you for being here, sir. I'm not familiar with you, but thanks for finding us. Chris White, E. Clay Tomlinson, and Neil. So thank you all for being in the chat with us this morning. We really appreciate it. And just so you guys know, if you want us to really feature your comment and you have something that you want us to talk about, throw it out in a super chat. We always make sure that we get every super chat that is thrown our way, and we really appreciate the support because all the money goes towards getting the show going full time. And we can't do it without people like yourselves. So we thank you for your support and all your super chats and all that good stuff. But if you just want to troll us in the comments, sometimes we throw those up on the screen as well. Matt Vader is in charge of that this morning. So
I am? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
You'll be the one throwing those out.
I'm also playing chat mod right now, so that's fine. Okay.
All right.
I'm chat guy.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's start off with the Rings of Power trailer number 2. This is the first substantial trailer we've gotten from Amazon's new Lord of the Rings series. Everything up to this point has been kind of like a teaser. It's been very light on the information about what we can expect from the series, but they just recently recently gave us some a trailer with some actual red meat to it. So we're going to watch it. Copyright strikes be damned. And then we're going to comment on it, okay? So, oh, you know what? I'm not sure I selected the audio version in StreamYard. So let me just fix this real quick. Good old professional video prep, you know.
We run a quality operation
Professional.
around here.
We do. Oh,
Yes.
by the way, Vader, that's how you start the countdown. by
That's
the
good.
way.
You did
so
a
you
really
know.
good job. You did a really good job there.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, here we go.
There was a time when the world was so young. There had not yet been a sunrise. But even then, there was light.
Call to me, lands far away.
Elves have forests to protect. Dwarfs their mines. Men their fields of grain. But we Harfoots have each other.
For I must now wander this wandering day.
We're safe.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel. Put up your sword.
The enemy is still out there. The question now is where?
It is over.
You have not seen what I've seen.
I have seen my share.
You have not seen what I have seen.
Darkness will march over the face of the earth. It will be the end, not just of our people, but all peoples.
I am sorry, but their time has come.
The past is with us all. The past is dead. We either move forward or we die with it.
This could be the beginning of a new era.
Away I must wander this wandering day.
All right, so that was the new trailer for the Rings of Power. I want to get everyone's first reaction. So, Matt Vader 74, what did you think of that very epic teaser trailer?
This is honestly. Well, I think there you have it, right? It seems off, right? The music seems off. I don't know. I don't know the story they're trying to tell. I read the books, but I didn't read the Silmarillion or whatever.
Silmarillion, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to to any of the footnotes or any of his scribblings that they're basing this stuff off of. And yeah, man. And it's sad to me because this is the kind of show that 20 years ago I would have been going out of my mind about, but now I'm just kind of, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I didn't like the music. I didn't like whoever was singing. I thought that sounded off. I wish Peter Jackson had something to do with this. Maybe I'd be a little more appreciative of it. But yeah, I don't like it. I mean, I can't say I don't like it. I can say I don't know what I'm looking at. I guess this is probably the best way to put it. But something seems off. So I'll leave it there.
I saw a very funny tweet by Gary who quoted the quote, Gary from Nerdrotics, where he was like, Galadriel, you have not seen what I've seen. Other elf guy, I have seen things. Galadriel, you have not seen what I have seen. And then it was like dialogue writing.
Well, I think the other guy's supposed to be Elrond, and I don't see it. It doesn't look like him. I don't. The casting seems way off there. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's very culturally diverse and
Yeah.
equitable.
I did notice, just really quick, I did notice that this trailer is way less diverse than the first teaser trailer we got, and I'm kind of curious if that's a little bit on purpose. So
Professor Sean, in your expert filmmaking opinion, what did you think of this trailer?
Well, it's like you're trying to get me to drink before 11 of showing me that, but no, basically it looks like the Silmarillion is so vast and it covers so long a period of time. It seems a little bit jumbled, and again, we like Vader said, we don't really have a clear idea of what this story's about, what they're hitting on. I got to give them up, for visuals. I mean, they're great, but I think it's just going to be another mashup. It's going to be a mishmash of the lore, and that's not really giving it the respect that it deserves. And again, like Vader said, 20 years ago, I'd have been eating this up, but 20 years ago, they probably would have done it a little bit more in line with the lore. So I think it still seems disjointed. This is like the fourth trailer that we've gotten, and it's the longest, and we still don't really know exactly what they're focusing on. So it just looks like a lot of fluff.
Culture Casino, what's your take on this trailer?
Hey, I agree. The visuals are pretty good, and it's very similar to what Peter Jackson put together. I can tell you I'm not a huge fan of what I've heard about the storyline. I think that Gary's pretty plugged into this, and of course I've been following him for a while. The dialogue is fairly weak in this teaser trailer, as Gary pointed out, but I would have to agree with that. The Silmarillion is a giant tome. If you've ever made your way through it more than once, you find you will skip certain elements of the book. Because I think it primarily was laid out as kind of a way to build the worlds around the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, and all of that. There are specific reasons why this material was never kind of put in place as something that was going to be created in a film structure or whatnot. I have very low expectations for this show. But it cinematically, if you're looking at it and you want to be in awe of the visual effects and the landscapes that you see and everything, that's the way this teaser is put together, this final teaser or whatever they're calling it. And I think it's okay. What I don't enjoy and this is the truth about all of this is the way it's presented before we actually get to see it. How all of these things are introduced to us by the media distributor, in this case Amazon itself. And I think that unfortunately will taint most people's opinions going into viewing not just the trailers but the show itself. And I think that the anti-marketing that's being done is going to work against this. Not just how not quite right it feels. This is the same problem that Cowboy Bebop had. Is that I'm having the same reaction where I watched this trailer, whatever you want to call it. I watch this and I go, this looks almost right. This sounds almost right. This is almost what you should be doing. And I think that's how a lot of entertainment's being presented. And that's my reaction here. I'm overly verbose, but that's. Yeah.
All right, Brian, what are your thoughts on the Rings of Power?
Yeah, so it's actually not based on the Silmarillion. The showrunners said that they're purposely using a period of time that was never covered by Tolkien, which is probably why it says
Based on.
It's based on Tolkien. It's not, because it's not actually using any of his writings at all.
Right.
And it has the same feeling watching this as when I watch Avatar, where I'm like, like the Avatar trailer. I mean, I guess and the movie, but really the trailer, where I'm like, it looks real pretty, but there's like zero substance. it doesn't look like the character. It looks like the characters are secondary to them just jerking off all over their graphics. Because the graphics look cool, but the singing and the music, what a bad choice. I have zero excitement. Like a trailer. What's the purpose of a trailer, right?
Get you excited.
I can't wait to watch that. Yeah. I have zero excitement over this. I'm like, hey, you know what? The graphics look cool. Those should make for some fun clips. But none of the characters pull me in any way. Just a whole lot of like faux slow motion too, which I hate when they do that in trailers when they slow the frame rate down, so it's not actual slow motion. You can actually see the frame, which like the guy, you have those beautiful graphics and the guy lifts his hands up, but it's like they slowed the frame rate down from 60 or whatever it was natively to like 18, so it looks real slow when he's coming out. You're like, why? You spent $500 million on this and you can't give it like a real slow motion. I understand that's what they do in trailers, but you can't mix these like $500 million graphics with like tricks we've been making, we've been using to make trailers since the 80s. It makes no sense to me.
Didn't Amazon spend like $1 billion or something like that?
$1 billion. Yeah. When I say 500 million, I'm talking about like just like the actual shooting itself. I'm not talking about actors and all that nonsense.
But like, man,
like what you see on screen, you're seeing more than $500 million of effort. And I had zero excitement. I had more excitement watching a 3D trailer for the Dota 2 International this year. And some guy made that on like his computer, in his mom's basement. So I don't know.
Yeah. So real quick, basically there are some licensing issues here, which is one of the reasons why they set the this Lord of the Rings tale in the era that they did. From my understanding, like Amazon doesn't actually have the rights to the 3 books in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. What they have the rights to is basically Tolkien's notes and some of the Silmarillion stuff.
Silmarillion, yeah.
Silmarillion, whatever. And the reason that they set the show in the era that they did is because of the licensing issues, from what I understand. And the storyline is about the rise of Sauron and the forging of the Rings of Power and how he deceives, the different races into falling under his spell. And basically, we're going to go from like the genesis of his rise up to the point where you have the Last Alliance battle, which is how the movies start. And so, like, I think they have like a 5-season arc planned out, and this is like the first season of that. So we get to see where all the characters are. We get to see like them battling. I believe it's Morgoth. I forget the guy who was like the Dark Lord before Sauron. But it's kind of like at the end of his defeat, and then the rise of Sauron, and you kind of see at the end of the trailer where like you see like Sauron, like the evil eye, and there's like an elf in there who the eye closes on. That's that's supposed to be Sauron. So I just my personal take, like I actually really like the trailer, and I'm looking forward to this show. I'm hoping I'm cautiously pessimistic, but I'm hoping that the show is good.
Let me ask you a question. What is the average increase per season for TV? It's like 22%, right, or something like that. 28%. So if this cost them like $1 billion, so like they have a 5-season plan. So is next season going to cost 1.3
What you have to understand is that the $1 billion deal factors in the cost of production.
Yes.
So it's an overall deal for about $1 billion, which factors in like everything. That
right. So you spent all this money and you couldn't buy any of the actual works. It just seems like such a
that was a Tolkien estate thing. The Tolkien estate wasn't going to allow them access to that stuff, so they got what they could.
Right. Basically. So you got like the bare minimum, and then you hired showrunners that have almost no credits.
Star Trek reject showrunners,
and they're Star Trek rejects. Yeah, they didn't even finish what they worked on Star Trek, so they have very, very little credits. They have very little experience. Yeah. It just seems like $1 billion roll of dice to me.
It is because you have JJ pedigree, right? JJ Klutzman, and then these guys. That's what you've got. That's just that's their pedigree.
And
So
you also got a few people from Game of Thrones season 8 who got peppered in there.
Whoa!
Oh wow!
Yeah, I don't like I said. I know that the whole goal here for the first season was to amortize the entire production over the other seasons. So that's why it is all this initial money getting spent up front for this thing, and then there will be expenses down the road for the next few seasons. But they're also dumping a ton of money. Amazon's dumping a ton of money into their own studio complex, and they have more on the way. And
they're going to make a lot of money off of the licensing of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Now, what I'm happy about is that they don't control the things that Warner is currently in control of, provided they continue to make content, which is why we're seeing the animated War of Rohirrim coming out from them. So, for as long as they control that, that's not something Amazon can get their hands on, which is kind of a saving grace in my opinion. But I think it's inevitable that they're going to try to dip their fingers into this, and Amazon has more money than you can imagine. So maybe they make Warner a deal they can't refuse. I don't know.
So I want to address the chat real quick because a lot of them are like, "What have you done with Kadish?" I, contrary to popular belief, I want to like stuff.
Yeah.
It just so happens that when I do watch the stuff that I want to like, I am greatly disappointed. So I love Lord of the Rings. I love the Peter Jackson films. I want to like this show. I'm going to give it a fair shake. If it's bad, I will be honest about it. But I'm hoping that it won't be bad. I really hope that they knock this out of the park because I want the show to be good.
Yeah.
But there are warning signs. I'm not going to lie. That's why I'm cautiously pessimistic about it. I like the trailer. Other than that line of dialogue where it's like, "I've seen what I've seen," that was pretty terrible. Yeah. Other than that, though,
you've never been afraid to go against the grain. None of us have really on the show. So, and that's what we like about you, man. So, keep being you. I appreciate it. It's good.
Yeah, but the fact that these showrunners basically they were the protege of Roberto Orsi, who was Robert Kurtzman's producing and writing partner for a long time before they had a falling out. And they were writing the third Star Trek script for the movies, for the J.J. Abrams movies. And it was so bad that Paramount was like, no, we're going to go in a different direction. And so these guys, with no producing credits under their belt, went to Amazon, made their pitch, got selected, and Amazon kind of surrounded them with more experienced people. But this is the first thing that they've ever done. And the jury's out on whether or not they were the right choice right now. I hope and pray that they treat Lord of the Rings better than they treated The Wheel of Time, because the adaptation that Amazon did for The Wheel of Time was atrocious. It was insulting to anyone who actually read those books. So
these guys,
fingers crossed.
These guys are from K&O Paper. Is that what you're saying?
They're actually from the Bad Robot Incubator.
Oh, okay.
And Roberto Orsi kind of plucked them out of obscurity because they did a couple rewrites on some of their scripts.
Okay.
And basically, Roberto Orsi was going to be directing the third Star Trek movie after Into Darkness, and he tapped these two guys to help him write his script for it. And it never got off the ground because Paramount was like, "This is terrible. Roberto Orsi is a bad director. We're just going to go in a different direction." So that's what happened. And then they team up with Kurtzman for God knows what reason. Okay,
I think
so
they're gonna try to make this work regardless of how much money it costs the corporation that owns it.
Well, Amazon can afford it. So.
They're committed now.
They are definitely committed. I'm just wondering if that $1 billion deal includes all the reshoots they're going to wind up having to do because it's going to piss off the fans.
I mean, this show's going to make money. They're going to make their $1 billion back, no problem. All right, so that's enough about Lord of the Rings. Let's start talking about Robocop. So there was a new trailer for a Robocop video game and spiritual sequel to the original Robocop called Robocop Rogue City. And as a Robocop fan, and we actually reviewed the movie on the podcast, we had David Hewlett from Stargate Atlantis impromptu join us in our review of the movie, which was a lot of fun. So if you want to check out that episode, he's up on there. and it's a lot of fun. But a new trailer just dropped for the video game, and I got excited about it. I was hoping Tom Connors would be here in time for this, but it looks like he's going to miss out on it. But he's a big Robocop fan as well. So I want to play the trailer for you guys and then get your reaction for it. So here we go.
In local news, a new crime wave that is sweeping Detroit has already claimed the lives of 21 police officers.
Disturbance? I'm a big fan. Now move!
Can you fly?
No, you can't.
Shot fired.
What the hell is this? Where is all the money?
We all saw it hesitate in a life and death situation. Why?
Listen, I would trust this guy with my kids. I mean, if I had any. This was just an isolated glitch.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Nice.
Robocop Rogue City.
Wow.
All right, so it's obviously a first-person shooter with some looks like some role-play elements.
Let's really,
it's got some.
Let's do this super chat really quick before we get into it. Gavin Blackburn, £2. Thank you very much. Should have been an LOL at the end of my comment. So
what was his original comment?
I don't know.
Where's Kadish? What have you done with him? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Kinds of comments. What I would imagine, but yeah.
So this looks like a really cool kind of first-person shooter game set in the Robocop universe. I like that you get to walk around Robocop's version of Detroit, and the Frank Miller punks from Robocop 3 are out in full force. It looks like there's some of the more kind of like humor where he's like, I trust this guy with my kids if I had any, you know. So like there's definitely that kind of like that vibe to it. I want to go to Brian. Brian, what did you think of this, and are you excited about it at all?
A little bit. It reminded me of a Terminator game I played recently on Steam, and it has like very similar graphics. Has a similar, from what I can see, like the heads up and all that. It's very similar. And if that's the case, then $40 will get you about 48 hours of enjoyment. So, I mean, any game that can do that is a win.
Yeah.
Actually, it would. I suck, so it'll probably take me twice that long. So I'll get more enjoyment out of it.
All right, Culture, what did you think of this?
I'm
trailer
stoked.
for Rogue City?
It looks amazing. I'm a huge fan of this. Robocop is, one of those films I think all of us really enjoy. And as a huge fan, it looks and feels like it could work in that world. And I'm excited because it also looks very similar to Half-Life 2. It looks like a Valve game. It looks and for an FPS, that's the look of the graphics. It's everything, and and because it's going to be a cross-platform available on lots of different types of media players. I mean, I'm stoked for it. I really am. So it feels good. It feels good. How about that?
Yeah, and I love the stinger at the end where it's basically Peter Weller and he has his iconic line, "Dead or alive, you're coming with me." I mean, you can tell the people who made this movie love RoboCop.
They do.
Sean, what did you think of this trailer?
I'm a big RoboCop fan, have been since I saw it in the theater when it was released, and I saw this and it definitely brought back a lot of memories. So I think it's gonna. This looks like, I mean, what people want. This definitely looks like what people are going to want to do. And, I mean, I may get back into gaming. I mean, the last time I actually played anything like regularly, Left 4 Dead 2 had just come out, so that kind of gives you an insight as to how far it's been. So, yeah. But I'm excited for it.
Cool. Matt Vader, you're the gamer on the panel. What do you think of this?
Well, I'm not really the gamer. I just play a little bit more. It's something I'll pick up on the Steam Christmas sale. I know that much. I don't ever play full price for games. I just don't do it anymore. But this looks good. This looks fun. This looks like a legit spiritual successor to at least the first two movies. That third movie, that's pretty shitty, bro. That's a terrible movie. But yeah, it looks fine. It looks really fun. It looks like it keeps in the vein of the first couple movies. It looks ultra violent, gory, bloody. I mean, that sounds weird, but that's what I want. When I think of Robocop, I think of that scene where Murphy just gets obliterated. It's the borderline X-rated violence that they have to really dial back. You remember you saying that he was going to be an X-rated movie, right? When Robocop first came out and they had to reel it in. That's what I'm looking for. That's the kind of stuff I want in a Robocop game, and I will definitely check this out when it comes out for sure. Looking forward to it.
All right. Before we move on, we've got a super chat.
Super chat.
You want to call that up?
Boom, there we go.
Fluffy Panda for $5. Can't wait until they release it 47% complete. Charge us $70 and fix it later because reason cough cyberpunk cough. Your move creeps, but I'm totally buying.
There you go.
It's kind of funny because I know Razor Fist. He's been very vocal about games like this, and he's like, if you want to buy a good game, stop pre-ordering games.
Yes.
And basically, like the industry has rewarded companies for releasing half-finished games through their pre-orders.
Sure.
I never pre-order games. I always wait until they come out, and I make sure that they're ready to be played before I do that. No Man's Sky. When that first launched, I was like, nope, I'm not buying it. And then after they fixed everything, then I went in and started playing it and had a good time with it. But hopefully this doesn't happen because when I was watching the trailer, it did remind me of Cyberpunk quite a bit. And that game is legendary for its terrible launch and being half finished and all that stuff.
You're breaking my heart. Yeah.
Well, it reminded me of it in just the terms of how it looked, not in terms of how it plays or anything like that. But I believe Cyberpunk is still struggling, right? They haven't fixed anything in that game.
Okay, I'm going to say this, and this is an unpopular opinion. My machine is a beast. I'm just going to put it there. I had zero problems day one with that game. But it taught me a valuable lesson because I also had it on PS5 at the same time. And it was very glitchy and would crash regular right at the beginning. So on the PC, it did great. On the PS5, it did not. Now the PC's got a 3080 RTX in it, so that's helpful. But
yeah, my PC ran the graphics fine, but there was still menu options in the wrong place. There was lack of tooltips for certain things. I remember going through to buy items, and them there being the same description for 7 items in a row, so I had no idea what I was purchasing. And so my computer's great too, so it ran it fine. But there was so many for a AAA game, you'd think that they would finish the tooltips.
Oh no arguments there. But as far as the glitch and everything else, it would essentially end your gameplay. I didn't have those until I went on played it on the PS5. I enjoyed that game from day one, so maybe I'm again very fortunate. But and aside from Jackie at the beginning of the game, pulling the gun out of his head instead of pulling the chip out of his head, that was the only real visual that was very odd. But look, you're right, Matt. I no longer pre-order games. I'm never doing it again. I think that's very sound advice because I want something that's finished. I also want a television show and a movie that's finished, which I feel like we're not getting those either.
Well, most of the TV shows and movies we get are finished. They're just not finished very well.
Do you guys buy games full price when they first come out?
I used to.
I used to as well, but I don't anymore. I don't. I refuse to spend $60 on a game that I know I can get for 40 a couple months down the road. Because these companies, Steam and Epic. Epic gives half their games away for free.
Yeah.
On their downloader. You know,
I only use Steam,
crazy.
so I generally wait for the Steam sale.
Yeah.
You know, and all that.
Wait
I
for
feel
Goblin to bust through my door and force me and my wallet open.
And I feel like, I know this is kind of off topic, but I feel like most of the really popular games now are free. They're free to play, like League of Legends and all these other games like that. They're all
Yoda.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
you know,
guys, real quick, perfect timing. Let me
there he is.
welcome Tom Connors.
There he is
to the live stream. How you doing, buddy?
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Doing good. We also have a super chat from Midnight's Edge After Dark. Where do babies come from? Can men have them now? And if so, does that mean I can get paternity leave? Men could always make babies.
That's true.
Tom, we were just talking about the new trailer for Robocop Rogue City. Have you seen that yet?
I watched it real quick, like a week or two ago when it dropped or whatever.
What are your takes on it?
I'm looking forward to it. I like games like that, especially open world games or whatever you want to call them. And so hopefully it's fun. Nice. Is my mic coming through okay? I mean,
you're a little low.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Let me check my setting here. Hang on.
All right. Real quick. So there was a great YouTube video that I watched not too long ago where someone went through kind of like the some behind the scenes baseball about what happened with Cyberpunk. That's good, buddy. And they basically said that the Q&A team that CD Projekt Red hired to go through the game overwhelmed them with so many like minor bugs that didn't need to be fixed that the bigger ones got lost in the shuffle. And so the developers didn't have time to fix everything that needed to be fixed, like game breaking stuff. And it was a very interesting kind of like analysis of what went wrong with that game. I don't remember who published it or like what you would search for on YouTube for it, but I thought it was very interesting, especially considering like CD Projekt Red's reputation with like The Witcher and stuff like that, which basically Cyberpunk essentially like ruined. Like now, like they're kind of like a pariah, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Some of these beta houses have really bad run up systems where they don't properly prioritize changes and bugs in games, so that when they're testing, they have way too many levels where it's like 1 through, like, I'm not sure what the numbers are, but like let's say 1 through 15, the different colors, yellow, red, green, white, black, or they don't have enough priority. And there's some beta houses that frankly just have no priority. They're just like, they just list bugs as they get to them, and you need to figure them out. So if there's so many tiny little bugs, and they're not prioritizing which bugs are important, and which are game breaking, which ones are, like I said, tooltips, then I can totally see them just forgetting. But if you have that many bugs in the game, push the release maybe.
I think the publishers were kind of like pressuring them to get the game out. So from Setlick 3 Gaming for $5, live long and prosper. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, so we've talked about Rings of Power and Robocop. Now let's talk a little bit about Netflix. I'm glad Tom Connors was able to join us because this is right up his alley. And we're going to be talking about 2 Netflix stories, but the first is going to be this article that I found on Variety that I'm just going to show you guys real quick. It says, why Netflix's loss of licensed titles could spark a content crisis. And for those of you who don't really pay attention to like industry stuff, basically what's been happening with Netflix lately is they've been missing their growth targets. Their subscriber growth is basically screeching to a halt. And they basically, that's how they get their revenues, through like new subscribers and stuff like that. And what's been happening is that Netflix used to be kind of like an aggregator of content where it would license like well-known TV shows from the studios and play them on their service. But now the studios are starting up their own streaming services and using their own content to populate that. And so Netflix is losing it. And what they've been trying to do is they've been trying to ramp up their own original series offerings to negate that. But the problem is that the original series offerings aren't drawing in new subscribers. And so as their licenses expire for the more well-known shows like The Office, Friends, Criminal Minds, things like that, people are having less and less incentive to stay subscribed to Netflix. And it's leading to an issue where basically if Netflix keeps losing these series that people want to watch, it could mean that they're going to get hit in the pocketbook really, really bad. And we've had quite a few misfires on the original series front as well. So like, Culture mentioned Cowboy Bebop earlier in the stream, which was a huge misfire. And I mean, that could have been like a big thing. Netflix has tried to tap into the anime crowd numerous times by making really terrible adaptations of good anime. But in addition to that, a lot of their original movies are like super expensive, like 200 million plus in terms of like budget, and they're not very good usually. So they're kind of struggling right now, and that's kind of the gist of this article, where Netflix could like take a huge hit when they start losing this stuff. So Tom, I wanted to get your take on this. How do you think Netflix is set to fare in the future if they keep losing these licensed titles?
Netflix can go and F itself. They took themselves away from us. Now I've got no Spider-Man, no Come Home. I don't get to watch Top Groin, the Maverick. And I've also been looking forward to Jurassic World Dominatrix. And I cannot see either of these things because they're taking away the Netflix in my country. In all seriousness, though, no, like we saw this coming. We predicted it, years ago. That as soon as all these companies started doing their own streaming service, the next step was going to be Netflix going, "We have no content." But I thought that was the whole reason why they were spending $10 billion or whatever it was a couple of years back on content.
They were spending all of it.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they cut back now when they're losing everything. It makes no sense, like, to me. But
so the funny thing is, like, everyone predicted this, including Netflix, which is why they ramped up their spending on original series. Right. The issue that they're running into is that the original series, they might be appealing to their current subscriber base, but they're not bringing in new subscribers. No. The only thing that they've done that has gotten people into the service has been The Witcher, and that's simply because it was like a very popular property outside of Netflix. But the Stranger Things season 4, which was a huge hit for Netflix, it didn't bring in like new subscribers because it just appealed to their current subscriber base who'd watched the first 3 seasons.
Well, actually, I think you'll see a reflection of that. I think they did it specifically in this quarter because when their next quarterly numbers come out, which is very soon, I think that'll actually, they'll retain more than they think, because after losing 200,000 in the previous quarter. To me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I think that they will be less than the 2 million that they told people that they would lose due to churn. Because right now, that you're right, they're not keeping up with their churn metrics. In fact, their churn numbers are insane, and that's the thing. All these streaming services are going to have to focus on is their churn numbers, because there are so many other options out there, and all of them are losing licenses to each other's content. So it's going to be, you're going to have people making very tough decisions. You can argue whether or not we're in a recession or not. I believe we are already there. We never know we're in a recession until at least 1 or 2 quarters after we're deeply in it.
We're in recession at 12% inflation. That's what we're
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, but so in all honesty, like I said, I think they will have to change their model. They can't do binge anymore, and you've already seen them hybrid it with Stranger Things 4 part Volume 1 and Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. I think they're going to have to partition it even more.
Well, that was mostly because they needed extra time for the post-production.
Well, and that may be true, but it's showing them a better way forward.
Yeah, they're doing it more with more and more shows where they're splitting them up more. I won't be surprised that once they implement an advertising model on Netflix, which is the next step, they'll stop doing the binge drop like they used to. They won't be able to afford it. And I'm sure they lost some people on the Cuties thing. I saw you highlight that, but I think more so it has to do with the fact that they're losing stuff like Friends and all these other bigger shows that people expect on. And that's the thing, is most people outside of us, the general audience, they don't understand or care or know where half these shows are going. They just have Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon. They don't really care about the rest. Sometimes they'll discover 1 or 2 of the others, but even then, what we saw, in recent months here, like Culture and I were talking on like the Tuesday tirades and stuff on his channel, was like the churn rate, right? And we saw that we predicted it was going to get worse as the deeper we got into, the pandemic. And then now we're heading into this recession kind of situation. These are things that people don't need. When Netflix costs, so much, and you need to fill your tank with gas, and your gas tank costs, 10 times what it used to fill.
$130.
Yeah. Exactly. Something like Netflix can go bye-bye, especially if you have video games and DVDs and other means to watch. I mean, YouTube took a huge jump. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed this. There's a story recently that just come out about how YouTube is starting to gain even more ground. Well, it's because it's free, right? You don't have to pay extra for it. It's there, and almost everything is on it. They've got free movies. They've got free shows. You don't really have to go looking far to find something to watch on Netflix or on YouTube, as opposed to Netflix, where, it's $15 a month plus, whether or not your movie you want to watch or show is on there, you got to go searching for it. And then half time it's gone already, or you miss, they got part 1, but they don't have part 2, or vice versa. You know what I mean? It's always a crapshoot.
Personally, I could probably end up doing without Netflix right now, because I only use it to put on the Ancient Aliens show when I go to sleep at night, and I fall asleep to that because the drony voice puts me to sleep. I really don't use Netflix for anything unless it's something that we're watching for the podcast, other than, my wife and half of the Pacific Northwest who uses my login. I don't have any use for it. So,
I haven't canceled it because I have so many family members that use my password.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to get to the rest of the panel, but real quick, I want to highlight the super chat from Matt HT, $2. I don't know if this is Caleb or not, but I'm going to assume it is, since he says, Igor here, wear my damn t-shirt. Joking.
Yeah, if it is Igor, we should get him a t-shirt. And I need to quickly really say I'm not sorry that I called you Igor on the podcast one time. I thought it was pretty funny. Professor Sean, you can, I don't know if you've told you that story, but you were talking about our editor, and I called him Igor. And apparently it ruined his life, because he had a bunch of friends in the dorm with him one night. And so they all call him Igor now instead of his name. So
it's pronounced Igor. Yeah.
Igor. Yes. But I think we can probably hook you up with a t-shirt at some point for sure.
Well, they were wrong then, weren't they?
So, Professor Sean, what do you think of this potential content crisis that Netflix is facing?
Well, I'm kind of like in the same area where I still have my account, but I usually don't watch anything. I was looking forward to the Pentaverant, but it just got weird, and I was like, if they just would produce original content that didn't suck, I think that probably people would sacrifice that extra couple of gallons of gas and things like that. I think that a lot of it too is because it's either old stuff that people can get elsewhere, or the original content is really suffering. I mean, what they need is something that you can't get anywhere else that people are really, itching for. I think what was it? The game one. What was it? The Squid Game. That one, it was a huge success, and it you couldn't get it anywhere else, and then it's gone.
Netflix didn't produce that. They bought it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I mean so it's something that people are. I guess they're going to hold on to their accounts so they can see season 2 when it opens or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Netflix does come up with some gems once in a while, like Squid Game, for example, and that zombie, that Korean zombie one. What was that? The Kingdom or something.
We are all dead.
But But there's also, like, in the chat here, right? I'm going to highlight this really quick. There are other free networks out there that if they're going to put ads on Netflix, there's other streamers out there that come with ads that don't cost anything.
Yeah.
Like Tubi and Pluto, and a Comet is another one. And they show for nerds like me, those channels are great because they show like really cool old sci-fi stuff like Buck Rogers and Space 1999 and really interesting, fun stuff. I mean, it's not new.
Yeah.
They're not breaking any new grounds, but there's other places to get content out there if you don't care about ads.
That's true,
that's for free.
That's true.
So,
to that end, Roku, which is a right. streaming device, they actually have their own channel. They do the same thing as well, or multiple channels in their own channel. I mean,
I went down a huge Bewitched binge on the Roku channel.
Yeah.
I love that show. I mean, it's so much fun. So
and I want to point something out. So like we've been talking about Netflix's churn rate and stuff like that. It used to be when there weren't a whole lot of streaming services out there, Netflix could replace cable for you if you had it, right? So like you could stop getting cable, but you could get all the shows that were already on cable. You could watch it anytime you wanted on demand. You didn't have to wait for it to cycle through. So Netflix had like a good value proposition to it. And the issue right now isn't so much the churn rate, it's actually the subscriber acquisition rate. Because the way that Netflix works is as long as they're adding new subscribers, that's their revenue quarter to quarter, right? So like at this point, they're kind of stagnant. They've kind of almost hit like a saturation point. And because of all the competition in the marketplace, they aren't able to kind of like keep up with their previous growth numbers. And that's really what was driving their stock price. And that was driving their valuation and how much money they could borrow for like original content and stuff like that. And so what happened last quarter when they missed their subscriber number, I think they actually had negative subscriber growth for the first time. It was kind of like a shock to them. And if you notice, that's when they got rid of their diversity and inclusion department. That's when they kind of like canceled a lot of the more woke political series on Netflix.
Well, they also made it so that they reduced the number of people who can greenlight shows. That was part of their plan too. And you're right. I mean, right now I believe, and I've said this for a while now, I think right at 100 to 118 million is maturity level for any of these streaming platforms. I think that's where you've reached what you said, saturation. I don't think that I call that maturity. I don't think you're going to get beyond those numbers. And if you do, it's because of massive international growth in markets that you have to provide different types of content to make it appeal.
Yeah. Netflix is still an 800-pound gorilla overseas.
It is.
But domestically, it's been struggling. And this actually brings us into our next topic, which is Netflix teaming up with Microsoft to bring us an ad-supported version of the streamer. So there's this article in Dateline that's really good. Again, guys, the links to all the videos and articles we're talking about are in the description. So if you guys want to actually read through this stuff, we make it available. But basically, Netflix saw the writing on the wall, and they decided that they're going to offer a free ad-supported version tier of their stuff in addition to the paid version. So if you want to get it without commercials, you can still pay for it. But if you don't want to pay for it, you can get it for free if you're willing to watch ads on the platform. And this is basically, we're acquiring new viewers as opposed to subscribers. So our free growth can be reflected in our paid growth and things of that nature. And a lot of streamers are doing this free plus ads model, like Hulu already does it. I believe Peacock does it as well. And it's one of those things where basically it's the typical network TV model where you get paid by advertisers and you make money that way. And if you have a subscription model in addition to that, the ad revenue is kind of like icing on the cake for the people who don't want to pay for it. But the interesting thing about this story is that Netflix was actually in negotiations with a bunch of different companies to basically host their advertising platform for them, and they chose to go with Microsoft. And one of the interesting aspects of them choosing to go with Microsoft is that not only is Microsoft going to be serving them ads, but the potential is there for when Netflix integrates with Microsoft's technology that they can actually stream Xbox Game Pass to the Netflix service and attract gamers to play video games through Netflix. This has been something that Netflix has kind of been flirting with for some time, where it's offering like video games that you can play through the service, almost like Google Stadia in terms of like the game streaming type thing. But Netflix thinks that their partnership with Microsoft could lead to something like that. And so there's actually more to this partnership between Netflix and Microsoft than normally meets the eye. But I want to get everyone's kind of breakdown on this, and I'm going to start with you, Matt Vader.
I'm going to start out with a really quick super chat from Adam Wolford for $2. Thank you very much. Went to web to get away from the ads, and now they followed. I know, right? That's exactly right. You know, cut the cord, cut the cables, you know, do all this stuff. You just pay and get what you want. Nope. Now we get ads, and it's really frustrating, man. I'm not going to lie.
Netflix has always been kind of resistant to ads, but that's back when their subscriber growth was very strong. And now that they've hit stagnation point with their subscriber growth, they're more open to it. And I think that, like Culture and Tom said earlier, they're also looking at you know, possibly not doing the binge model anymore, and things of that nature. Vader, what do you think of this?
I mean, the binge thing doesn't bother me a whole lot because I don't like binge TV anyway. I'm one of these old school guys that likes to watch a couple episodes and wait a week so we can talk about it, process it, and have something to look forward to. But that's just how I like to watch TV. And as far as the ad goes, it's like the super chat said, we went to the streaming platforms to get away from the ads, and all that's happened is everybody is now buying streaming services, and we have absolutely unbearable network television with shows that are even shorter with more ads because we all went away and then they had to make up for the lost revenue. And it sucks. I hate it. You know, sitcoms are 12 minutes long now. They used to be 25. So with all the ads put in between,
and they're doing product placement when like they slow pan on like the BMW or whatever.
And it's in our sports, you know, our hockey teams and our basketball players and they got, you know, banner ads on their jerseys and stuff now. It's ludicrous. It's like
idiocracy, bro.
It's really bad. Yeah.
But here's that, Matt, and I want to ask the professor a question. Not only are we seeing the product placement, what Matt's talking about, which is insane, but now they have the ability to go back in time via electronic means and insert ads on in things that never existed, right?
I'm cool with that though, because like that's part of like the environment, and in fact, if anything, it's going to update like the older stuff.
So when I Dream of Jeannie episode with a Tesla ad is going to be that's going to work for you?
No,
I mean, but it's not interrupting the content though, right?
It might. I mean,
does it? Like if they throw a Tesla logo on the building behind, you know,
are they really doing this? This is a thing?
The technology's existed for quite some time.
They're just having some like legal hurdles.
The technology is actually called it's called frame out, and they can take like banners and bottles and you know,
basically you could be sitting there watching Andy Griffith's show, and all of a sudden there's a Coca-Cola fucking banner in the background.
Right. So at one point it might have been like PepsiCo, because maybe that's where it was made, but now Coca-Cola is paying for that to be changed to Coca-Cola.
Exactly. Or Pizza Hut or Taco Bell or whatever. Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but then again, I'm not that observant when it comes to this. My wife and I, we're the bingers, you know, so we've been watching a lot of Hulu because we've been binge watching Smallville, and she didn't see it first run. I watched it for about 3 seasons first run, and then I was out. But now I'm enjoying it. And the thing is that we paid the extra money to get rid of the ads because it was really, really distracting. But if they're actually injecting, you know, advertisements in the show, I have yet to really notice it.
No, they're not doing that yet.
They can't, but they want to.
So it's called frame out. It's been around for a while. They're talking about now charging to do that, but they won't. So this is actually a little bit of a confusion here. They're not going to be adding ads to, as far as I know, to already ad-free packages. They're not going to be adding ads into your shows. If you're paying for an ad-free experience, that's, as far as I know, that's still going to be the case. And so less money for an ad experience or free for an ad experience is completely fine. If you don't mess with my tier where I'm not paying ads, I'm completely fine with that.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
My problem is when they when you're paying for that tier and they still throw like their own shows before everything you watch, and you're watching an iCarly ad or that drives me nuts, because I'm like, yo, I'm not paying for an ad, so I don't want to see a 1 minute iCarly trailer every time I turn on Star Trek.
Brian, go ahead and read that super chat for us from Fluffy Panda.
Brian, send me for ads now? No, Fluffy Panda, I'm not.
No, but he's got a point though, because like I got Paramount Plus and stuff, and I got so sick and tired of that freaking Scream trailer because you can't skip it.
You can't
like
skip it.
You're paying for the stuff. It's like I'm not supposed to be getting ads.
One where like I'm watching Lower Deck with my kids, and like there's a drag show.
Why would you subject your kids to that crap?
Yeah,
I'm trying to get my kids into Star Trek. So we got Prodigy, we got Lower Decks. Those are my options.
That ain't the way to do it.
Well, so I'm trying to watch it when it first came out, and I remember
just
the ads
just
like,
show them Star Trek for the Voyage Home
coming up, and my kids are like watching it. They're so confused, and I'm trying to desperately skip it, and there's no way.
Well, they are now anyway. Let's say, but
easy.
So one of the interesting aspects of streamers adding an ad-supported model is, so Hulu, which was kind of the forerunner of like the free and plus ad support model, they offer self-serve advertising. So, now that cable and local broadcast is going away, a lot of local businesses that used to advertise on the local affiliates, like they don't have that outlet anymore because it's not reaching anyone. But with these streamers, by offering like a self-serve ad platform on their streaming service, they're allowing like local businesses to target people in their area to show them commercials that will replace like the broadcast TV commercials and stuff like that. Yeah, and
YouTube's had that for a while.
Yeah.
This is true, but this is something that if you want your business ad to show up during a car show, right? If somebody's like binge watching a car show on Hulu or Netflix, and you're like a car detail service locally, like you can target those people now by attaching your ad to that show.
I get punished all the time.
Let's get this on here really quick. From Adam Wolford for $5. Thank you, sir. So you're watching Happy Days and then a Tesla ad, that would ruin the show. You would focus on that ad for Tesla cars in the 1950s setting show. Is that cool?
Yeah,
is
I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's an extreme.
No, I think you're gonna see it. I think you're gonna see.
They're trying anyway, Brian. That's the problem.
You're gonna be watching The Godfather, right? And on a window, and that used to be a flower shop, you're gonna have
Starbucks.
It'll say 1-800-Flowers on it and stuff like that.
Flowers,
yeah. What about when they're going to the Italian restaurant and it says like Olive Garden?
Yeah, exactly.
That would drive me nuts.
Yeah, well, imagine what that's.
It's my favorite restaurant, Olive Garden. They give us the free breadsticks.
It's fantastic. They treat you like family here.
That's what I love. We have family here.
I think the thing about it, we ought to focus with that type of an invasion into existing content that is out of another era. It can be extremely distracting if it's not done well too. So we have to figure, as the technology becomes more and more available to do this, it's going to get cheaper and more people are going to be contracted to do it. And you might wind up getting, like integration that isn't as good. And that could, so it could potentially take you out if somebody does it poorly.
Yeah.
Completely different bit resolution, different color scheme, things like that. To be unnoticeable in the background as a very subtle feature to the show may be one thing, but I have a feeling that, because we see it all the time, that it's going to get more, as it grows as a trend, it's going to get more and more distracting because the quality just isn't going to be
you're
there.
right. With great power, right? But what about what about all those movies that have like movie posters and stuff? Like let's say I Am Legend. You see all the movie advertisements
in Times Square.
In Times Square, the faux movie advertisements.
Yes.
That's cool. Great opportunity there to literally inject current movie or TV show ads. And
I kind of look at it like when I'm watching a hockey game, right? And they have all the ads around the inner circle of the ring wall, right?
Yep.
None of those are there in real life. Those are all digitally placed
projected.
there. Yep. And it's a trip because you can't tell that they're fake. I mean, the hockey players, like, they get in a fight right in front of one, and it's there. As long as they're on that one panned out camera that
they're fighting on R. Carly's face.
It's very strange, but yeah, I get it.
So guys, let me propose this to the panel. And first of all, real quick, we've got like 60 people viewing.
Thank you very much.
Thumbs up. Really appreciate that. So what if, we're kind of talking about the free ad supported model, but the implications of this partnership with Microsoft are bigger. Right now, I believe like a top tier subscription for Netflix is like $17, give or take.
It's more than that, I think, but yeah.
So what if they offered like a $30 a month tier, but in addition to that, not only do you get Netflix's library, but you get Xbox Game Pass, so you can like play any game that Microsoft has in their library through Netflix. Do you think that would be something that would entice more people to subscribe if they're getting a game service and a movie service all at once?
I'm already paying for it. Might as well.
Yeah. And it sounds like I'm getting it at a discount now, right, Brian? If I get it for $30, I'm getting the top tier Netflix plus.
Yeah.
Game Pass.
I mean, yeah. Well, now you're getting it for $5 less, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Another thing though, with partnering with Microsoft, it's not just the potential Game Pass, but Microsoft is their best bet against ad blockers. Because Chromium is very, very good at not blocking ad blockers, but sort of determining that you're using an ad blocker and moving around it. It's like their version of a shadow ban for ad blockers. It'll still work, but it doesn't actually work.
I don't know. You do that on top of the JavaScript block, and you can kind of get around that too.
Well, the JavaScript block is fun. Yeah. That's a trick. Hey, shh, don't tell anyone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How do you think I read all the Washington Post articles? No, but ad block for like YouTube in videos and Netflix and even on Hulu, like ad block worked for a while on Hulu until they started implementing a lot of these Chromium updates and not allowing you to watch Hulu unless you were using the latest version of Chromium. And that wasn't because of so that your experience would be better. Plain and simple, it was so that they can serve you ads. And so that's another thing for Netflix, I believe, working with Microsoft, is just if they're going to have an ad-free experience, they need you. An ad experience. They need you to be able to see ads.
Well, I mean, there are also a lot of like synergy opportunities with Microsoft because they not only produce software but hardware. So like they own Skype. They have like their own phone line, there's like all types of like Xboxes. There's all types of things that Netflix could integrate within Microsoft that, some of these other companies like Google just like don't offer. So like, I feel like this is actually like a very important strategic partnership between the two companies that isn't getting a lot of attention. Would you agree with that, Tom?
Potentially, yeah. I missed the first part of the question there, but
well, I just said that I think that this strategic partnership between Microsoft and Netflix isn't getting the type of attention that it should, because it could be a game changer for both companies.
Yeah. And I
don't culture is probably more attuned to that one.
Yeah. I don't think, I mean, I'm going to step back and do it from the when I looked at this, I looked at it from two perspectives. One's this almost confirms that Hastings has a problem with the folks over at Google. Because that's been a long running rumor out there in the world.
Yeah.
And number two, it does do exactly what Matt says. It leads to interesting synergies between these two corporations and how they service customers. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, business wise, I mean, the bigger block of places you can advertise is Google. So like I said, it leads me to believe there's a lot more there.
One of the interesting aspects of this is that, so if you want to advertise on Netflix with this partnership, who do you go through? You go through Microsoft's ad network, which is also integrated with Bing, and Microsoft also owns LinkedIn. So like the LinkedIn ads are with that as well. So what this could do is it could lead to like a influx of users of the Bing ad platform to actually compete with Google for a change. Because like, can you imagine like if as a YouTuber, I want an ad for my YouTube channel to show up on The Witcher and it plays on Netflix and stuff like that. There's a lot of possibility here,
right?
For synergy, and both companies getting a big boost to actually compete with a monolith like Google and YouTube and stuff like that. In fact, the Bing search engine could prioritize Netflix offerings as opposed to YouTube offerings if they wanted to, kind of like play dirty with their algorithm and stuff like that. So there's a lot of potential there that I think is being overlooked and not really talked about all that much.
Yeah. Well, what about ads on all the networks you just mentioned, but additionally, that same technology being used on Xbox. So they're going to be even more connected.
Or
Skype. Right. Okay. So so that's an interesting thing because I actually saw an ad on Skype the other day. I had not used Skype for years. And one of my coders, he's from Nepal. He's been working with me for a long time, so it's not like I just hire nothing but any course. But he was like, "Hey, can we talk on Skype?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me open up the Skype app on my phone that I haven't used since the advent of Discord,
the internet, yeah."
Yeah, since Ventrilo, right? But let me open it up. And I'm like, I'm having to update it, right? And I'm updating, I'm trying to sign in. I'm seeing like this picture of a younger, beardless, skinny version of me on there. I'm like, oh my God, it's been a long time. And I finally opened that sucker. And oh my God, there was so many. It was like, you ever go to one of those, like when you're looking for a download of something and those pages have like the fake download links where it says like download and you click on it, it's ad, you're like, God damn it. You got back and you got to try to find the real download link, and it's a small little thing that says like download here, but it's surrounded by these fake download links. Well, this Skype call, every time I'm trying to find this guy's information, in like the contacts were ads, and I'm like, I don't know which one's which because they have like weird characters because I don't know his language. And so I'm clicking all these ads and I'm calling people and companies that aren't the right, isn't this guy? And I finally, I give up, man. Come into our Discord. And I just had him come to the Discord and it was done. But I was literally getting ads in my like contact list. It was the oddest thing.
One of the things that I think that we need to think about too is Microsoft has always been kind of like this large predatory shark that absorbs things. I think what we might see with Netflix doing this over the course of the next like 5 years, maybe even not that much, but the integration of more Microsoft technology being required to run it, and then finally maybe even just Netflix disappearing into Microsoft TV or something like that. It's a pattern. I mean, I don't know whether it's all that plausible right now, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past them just because it's the way things go. I mean, what if they decide, hey, we'll just sell it to Microsoft?
That concern is valid, but that's why we need to, change some things the way we do stuff and get some antitrust cases busting up some of these mad monstrous entities, because it's destroying entertainment. It's destroying all kinds of other entities, but we're not going to dive into those things. But you're right. That is a major concern. I would not want I wouldn't want Microsoft because of how predatory they've been. I mean, consider this. You used to be forced to use Internet Explorer, right? And you were constantly fighting to get rid of it. You would reskin an Internet Explorer with Neoplanet or something, way back in the day, because it was just, this thing is garbage, right? Yeah. And then it was, well, we're going to offer you all these other search engines, but you have to jump through 4 hoops to get this crap done. And it was, and then you just, they are predatory. You will use our stuff. No, thank you.
What about when they
auto-installed Edge?
Yeah, oh God, Edge is garbage.
I was gonna say, you don't like to sit there and wait 10 years for fucking Edge to fucking load up. And sorry,
I jumped through hoops. I opened up Power Administrator. I ended up going. I felt like that guy from the '80s starting war games, trying to get rid of this stupid Edge program. It took me like 2 hours. And I'm pretty sure I broke laws just to remove it from my computer.
Yeah, you guys are making me flashback hard right now.
It's like, are you sure you want to delete this? Are you sure? You're sure? You're sure?
You're gonna break your computer if you do.
Real quick, guys. Real quick. So, what I'm waiting for is one of these streamers, like whether it be a Microsoft Netflix collaboration or what have you, is to open up a section of their distribution network to user-generated content like YouTube, where people can upload their videos to like Netflix. People can go to a certain section of Netflix to see these videos, and the creators get, ad revenue based off of like viewership and stuff like that, so that there is an actual competitor to YouTube out there. I don't know if you guys saw Shadowversity's video that he released this morning about how YouTube is kind of like throttling his channels and it's actually like really hurting his business and stuff like that.
Right.
But after watching that video, I'm like, like I've been saying since 2006, never base your business entirely around Google,
right?
Because Google will screw you over. They don't like you, but there's just a lack of alternative out there, right?
What guy is that?
Could this be a Shadowversity?
Thanks.
He's one of these guys who basically does like medieval reenactments. He's like, if you have this type of sword, can you really do this as you see in this movie and stuff like that? It's a good channel. He works with a network. Like he just launched his new podcast, which is called Night's Watch and stuff like that. But he talks about like his analytics and how like YouTube's throttling him and it's affecting his revenue and his ability to employ people and all this other stuff. It was a pretty good video. I recommend you guys check that out. Real quick, we got another super chat here from Adam Wolford for $2. It isn't as bad as AOL, trying to still get rid of that.
I think we all are, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, remember AOL? Man, talk about flashback. All right, guys, so we've talked about Netflix long enough. Let's start talking about Gremlins versus Grogu. So recently, Joe Dante, who was the director of the first two Gremlins movies, he was basically being interviewed by the San Francisco Chronicle, and he came out publicly and basically said that Baby Yoda was a shameless ripoff of Gizmo, and Gizmo is one of the reasons why the Gremlins franchise is kind of like, kind of thrived for so long, because people just love Gizmo. And he was like, yeah, Lucasfilm basically just ripped us off, and if you look at a side-by-side comparison, in fact, I'll even call it up here real quick.
Wow, I mean, we all were saying this when it first came out.
Oh, we were totally.
Yeah.
Basically, he's like, Gizmo's like a baby, and Baby Yoda's like a baby, and they basically just ripped off Gremlins. And it's kind of funny because HBO Max is actually kind of like gearing up to start up a animated Gremlins.
Well, they've been working on this for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's been taking them so long. And then all of a sudden last year, Joe Dante came on as a consultant.
As a consultant, yeah. But what do you guys think of Joe Dante basically poo-pooing on Lucasfilm about this Matt Vader?
So I just heard about this yesterday. I haven't read a lot about it, but he's correct. I mean, every single one of us on Twitter and in YouTube and everybody out there said that very same thing when Baby Yoda came out with the Mandalorian. It's like, hey, look, they just shaved Gizmo and made him green. That's basically what they did, right? I mean, it's very apparent to me that was kind of the model they were going for. They wanted something that would sell a lot of toys and that was cute and that people of all ages would fall in love with. And that's exactly what they did. And that's exactly what Gizmo did back when Gremlins came out. I mean, I think I still got a Gizmo somewhere in a box in my closet back here from, back in the day. If something works, you copy it, I guess, and change it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I've always thought Baby Yoda was a Gizmo ripoff. So I feel I understand the dude's his opinion there. Yeah, so I get it. I do.
Film professor Sean, do you think Joe Dante is correct? Is Baby Yoda a ripoff of Gizmo?
Gizmo, caca. No, I think that. I think that. Okay, so from a marketing, like merchandising thing, possibly, because when Gremlins first came out, you couldn't get away from the Gizmo, stuff.
Every kid in the 80s grew up with the Gizmo.
Yeah, but the thing is that it kind of feels like the Steven Tyler being accused of being a Mick Jagger ripoff back in the early 70s. And he was really resentful for it because what's he supposed to do? Get plastic surgery? Yoda predates Gizmo by about 5 years. And so if you de-age Yoda, he's going to look like something that can, I mean, there's really, I don't think it was as deliberate as maybe Dante thinks.
What wasn't Yoda a ripoff of Mako from Conan?
No. Yoda was, I mean, you know, you're talking, was it?
I mean, he's basically the old wise samurai mystic.
I was gonna say, if you're talking about look wise, maybe, but when it comes to Baby Yoda, there's more than just the look that's similar
absolutely.
here, and that's what I think Dante is getting at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean, to that degree, yeah, but I mean, put it this way: they didn't weave Baby Yoda out of whole cloth. I mean, this is a character and a species that's been around since 1980, so it's not. I mean, what else would you do with him? I mean, how could you change it to not look so much like Gizmo?
I would also point out that the Mandalorian is just a ripoff of Lone Wolf and Cub, which is like very old, like kind of like father son adventure tale culture. What do you think of this? Do you think Joe Dante is rightfully bitter?
Well, yeah. I mean, I agreed with it when I saw the article. When you look at the side by side comparison, you're like, yeah, that's remarkably similar. Shave Gizmo, and you have Baby Yoda. You know, it's like that's kind of what you would have to do. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of odd derivatives that are similar in look and feel. I mean, you'd have the same argument that you had between Apple and Microsoft. We were just talking about them. That was happening way back, you know, in the early days of the computing wars, where they both stole the same look and feel from the same Xerox, you know, operating system at the time, that they both, you know, derived what they came up with. And
the GUI operating system.
The forward facing, the forward facing side of things. Yeah.
You don't need to know how to code. You can just point and click.
Yeah, I missed that. I miss typing things and making.
Wasn't there was a movie called The Pirates of Silicon Valley a while back?
Yes.
That kind of goes through like how Steve Jobs stole all of Xerox's stuff and revolutionized the home computing industry, and then Bill Gates stole from him.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good movie, actually.
Yeah, it's fascinating back then. I mean, just think about the fact that that lawsuit went on for a long time, and it essentially made Apple financially dominant, if not, overall world renowned, which is what Microsoft enjoys. But anyway.
Yeah, Brian, who would win in a fight, Gizmo or Baby Yoda?
Oh boy.
Yeah, 100%. Baby Yoda. Because Baby Yoda has the Force, man.
That's right.
He has the Force, and he can get wet after midnight. So I'm gonna go with Baby Yoda.
Gizmo can get wet after midnight too. He just can't eat after midnight.
He can't eat after it was. Actually, yeah. If you think about it, Gizmo could overpopulate and dominate by sheer numbers Yoda, and especially if they, they eat after midnight. I mean, then how's Yoda?
I like how in Gremlins 2, they point out it's like, well, it's always midnight somewhere. Like, when can this thing eat?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Time or what? Yeah.
Or what if he gets something stuck in his teeth?
Yeah. That's why I love Gremlins 2. Gremlins 2 doesn't give a fuck.
I love Gremlins 2 as well.
It's great.
I still remember the ads. Do you remember the ads for the film? The Super Bowl ad that revolved around the Gremlins? Tom, you still have that handy?
Mm-mm.
That was so good.
I gotta look that up.
I just remember Gizmo Ramboing up.
You talking about the Billy one, the newer one?
Get enough of Rambo Gizmo. I think we needed more of that. I thought he was going to play a bigger part, but he only.
Are you talking about the Mountain Dew one?
I was going to say the Mountain Dew one, or okay.
I don't remember.
I'm sure that's on YouTube.
Oh yeah. Gizmo. Yep.
All right. So we've talked about Gremlins. Let's get to our last topic.
I didn't get to answer for once.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, go ahead, Tom.
I've been sitting here chomping at the bit. I think if anybody has the right to say it, it's Joe. I mean, really. I mean, we've all said it ourselves. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Was it on purpose? Probably not. Probably subconsciously. But at the same time, like Matt pointed out, the whole show's a ripoff of Lone Wolf and Cub to begin with. So there's not a whole lot that's original in it. And then you just throw Star Wars into the mix. But yeah, I think Joe has a point when it comes to Baby Yoda, at least because of the whole how he acts. He doesn't talk, even though he's 50 years old. He makes a lot of cooing sounds like Gizmo does, and that's what Gizmo does is mimics. But in the end of the day, I mean, are they that similar? No. But I think it's fun just to talk about. I'm sure they asked him, so it's not like he probably volunteered this information. So for anybody who's like, oh, I seen what the one guy in the chat, Dennis, saying like, oh, he just did it to promote the show. Well, of course. But they asked him that question, I'm sure. So in that respect, I mean, Gizmo was an accident anyway, right? People don't really know this unless you know anything about the movie. Gizmo was supposed to be Stripe. Like, he wasn't meant to be a good guy. In the original script, Billy hated Gizmo because Gizmo was a little shit. And it was Steven Spielberg who saw the first puppets. He goes, those guys are cute. He goes, why don't we keep one of those around for the rest of the movie? And Joe's like, oh, brilliant. And so they told the effects guy, and he's like, what? So that's why they shoved him in a backpack, because they had no other way of bringing him around.
I mean, Steven Spielberg kind of stealth directed Gremlins, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he come in later and he goes, you know what? I'm not liking the brown. Can you do something with that? So they had to reskin all the Mogwai at the last minute. And Culture, look at Culture's head. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. That means getting the pelts done and everything. So to make sure they knew he wouldn't change it again, they're like, make it look just like the fur on his Cocker Spaniel. So that's why all the Mogwai have the white and brown spotches. So,
God, how much?
So blame Steven Spielberg, and then he goes, "We're going to advertise this like E.T." And so that was the whole other thing that they did too. Yeah.
All right. So
I think that in that case, yeah, I think he's right. So go on, move on. Sorry.
Speaking of cute, family-friendly fan favorites, let's talk about Hasbro killing the Riva lightsaber.
Did Hasbro really kill it though? Did they?
Well,
I think we can blame Disney for this.
All right, so I got to give you guys a little bit of context to this story before we get into it. So this is from Bounding into Comics, but there's this thing that the Hasbro toy company's been doing lately. It's called HasLabs, right? And they're basically, it's a way of selling pre-orders for a toy that they want to make, but they're not sure if the toy is going to be successful. So they set goals for the crowdfunding, and if enough people want the toy, then they'll make it. But if they don't hit those goals, they'll scrap it. And it's an interesting way of doing like pre-orders for different things. And so what Hasbro did is they created a HasLabs crowdfunding thing for the Riva lightsaber replica. And it was like a Black Series lightsaber with like just the most ridiculous design for a lightsaber you could possibly imagine. But they set some funding goals for it, and it was basically the lightsaber was selling for $500, and you needed at least 5,000 people to pre-order it in order for them to put it into production. Yeah, and so like they've had a few HasLab things not meet their goals before, but they were always very close. Like for instance, they did this thing with the Black Series release of the Rancor from Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. And that failed to enter it, but basically their target was 9,000 and they got like 8,500.
Yeah, it was
33 people. So it was very close, but it didn't meet this thing.
The Rancor was the first thing not to ever make its goal, and it was really close.
Yeah.
And Riva, this Riva thing is only the second time they haven't come up with the funding for a project.
And the interesting thing about this, so it was like a $500 lightsaber replica. It's not a real lightsaber; it's just the handle. And their goal was 5,000 backers, right?
Jesus.
Anybody? So the number of backers they actually got for it was 1,413 out of 5,000. So it missed by a mile. Like they gave it 3 months to hit its target goal. Didn't even come close. And Matt Vader 74. Does this mean that Hasbro is racist?
Yes. No, I need to correct one thing that you said. It was the whole lightsaber. It was the handle and the blades and everything. It was the entire life size.
For $500, that thing better be real.
Yeah, made from solid gold, got a TV in it.
Here's the thing though, man. All this really shows is people's actual real attitude about this series. There's these shills out there that are super noisy about this series and about everything that they support in the social medias and stuff, but it absolutely proves the point that these people do not spend money on merch and collectibles. I mean, this thing should have been a home run. All right, HasLabs had, I think it was the Jabba the Hutt sail barge, this giant massive thing that I think it's sold for how much? One of you guys has to know. It's like a couple grand, right?
It was very expensive. It took this like $12.50 or so. I'm trying to remember going back in time.
And they had zero problem getting that funded to make that. So there are people out there. There are Star Wars collectors out there that spend these big amounts of money for these. They were even able
to fund the fire spray. Boba Fett's ship.
Slave One.
Slave One.
Don't ever call it
One. Yeah.
But it proves to me the fact that these noisy idiots out there that support this absolute garbage Disney Star Wars that they give us don't spend the money. They're just mouths in the wind. That's all they are. They do not support the franchise, and something like this should be easy. Put your money where your mouth is if you're going to support this stuff.
But it's
it's ridiculous.
But it's really cheap. Anyway. It's really cheap test marketing, though, Matt. I mean, it's they're seeing, is there a market for this? Because they're like, we need a minimum of $250,000 to make this worth our while, right? Mm-hmm. And if we don't get it, it's not worth our while. I mean, this is Tom probably can recall, but it was either Big Bad Toy Store or Giant or one of these that basically said, where's the market for these toys?
I can't remember who it was, but it was Giant. It was one of those companies. They were being asked. Okay. I don't think it was Giant either. It was one of I think it's Diamond or somebody like that. Yeah. Because they were being asked about the Star Wars toys coming up, and then of course some purple-haired somebody come up in the audience and said, "What about Rey and all these other popular characters from the new films?" And he's like, "Are they really popular?" And that got shut down pretty quick. He basically said they don't sell. Nobody wants them. And I'm curious if you guys agree with this or not, because I have had quite a few people since this has happened say the same thing to me. And that is, they feel like if they would have just called it an Inquisitor lightsaber, because I guess all their lightsabers are pretty much like this. If they would have just called it an Inquisitor lightsaber, not Reva's, it probably would have sold.
Right.
Because there's plenty of Clone Wars fans that would have probably got it or whatever.
So that actually speaks to the character more than even the That makes
not
sense.
only that, I think the people fell away from the show. Like, I just read a thing on Park Place where they were talking about the 5th episode ratings taking a nosedive. Right? And that was just before the finale. Right. So that's typical of these shows. It seems like nobody's really watching them.
And I want to get Brian's take on this, because him and Shane both reviewed Obi-Wan as it was playing. And
plus, you work in merchandising.
I know Shane was a lot more favorable towards it than you were, Brian. But why do you think that this failed to resonate with people?
Well, I like the idea of not calling it Reva's lightsaber, but calling it the Inquisitor lightsaber. The lightsaber itself is sort of cool until you realize that it's also a helicopter, so it's ridiculous. But aside from that, it's a sort of a unique take on a lightsaber. So they marketed it wrong. Riva is a really divisive character because she was a really bad character. Mm-hmm. She came out the gate as like this super evil, gnarly Inquisitor, even worse than the Grand Inquisitor. Even the Grand Inquisitors were like, "Yo, calm down."
She was the Grand Inquisitor for a little while,
right? But at the beginning, when she was like slicing hands off, even the bad guys with the ultra white faces were like, "Hey, too much. Take it down a notch." And then they
go too far.
You're going too far. So the evil guys are saying that you're too evil, and then you want to try to somehow write into the story that she's not evil, she's misguided, and she wants to kill lightsaber. Wants to kill Vader. And you expect us to like sort of redeem this character in our minds in a matter of like 10 minutes in one episode that was only 33 minutes long? That makes no sense. So the character, no one likes the kid. Most people don't like the character. Mm-hmm. To make it worse, when people say at the very beginning of the show, people that were criticizing the character said, "Well, I don't really like this character." It's not working for me. A lot of Hollywood folks were like, well, I mean, listen, if you don't like her, then you're racist. They did that old trope.
Yeah.
And I know there were actual racists out there that didn't like her because the color of her skin. That's fine. But I believe that was a tiny percentage of people that didn't like her because
I
she
still call those questionable, whatever they were, DMs on Instagram.
Right. Yeah, quite. Yeah, you can't back that up.
I don't buy this.
Only published like 4 of them,
here's
right?
my thing. Yeah, and here's my thing with that whole thing is this whole idea that there are fans of Star Wars that could actually be racist is kind of bullshit. Like, if you're racist, there's no way you're watching Star Wars. There's no way you're watching any of this stuff. Like, the real racists out there, they don't care about any of this stuff. They're not on Twitter or anything like that.
Yeah, they're in some backwoods porch talking about their sister's underwear or something.
Dang.
Is there some ignorance in the world? Yes, but it's flat out racism. I don't know. Like you got, like you just said, you're not going to find it in those areas. No.
They also conflate online trolling with racism. There are people online who are just jackass trolls who come off as racist.
Well, actually, I'll
they
add
know
a
that's going to get a response.
I'll say actually there are actual racists out there. They showed themselves, like basically when we had a big whole deal happen here in the last few weeks, how many people called certain people N-words right on Twitter and other places without any like reservation whatsoever. I'm not going to get into why, because this is not the place, but like that's my point is there is one side that kind of projects a lot of that bullshit onto other people, and then they turn around and they're the first one to casually use words like that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I saw that same thing. It's funny.
And the same thing with Eric July. Look at what Ripa's been dealing with here in the last week, or actually just a few days more so than anything, just because of his success.
Well, also Lucasfilm doesn't seem to count the fact that they're anti-white male as being racist.
No.
Professor Sean, what do you think of this situation? Because I know you're more of a Star Trek guy than a Star Wars guy, but what did you think of Obi-Wan and how did that affect this?
Well, I think it really says a lot for the franchise when a Star Wars franchise can't sell a toy. When I was growing up, I had friends that were, like collecting all of these things, and they'd be showing me like the new action figure or whatever they got and everything, and I'm like, I don't remember seeing this movie. Oh yeah, don't you remember way off in the background? This is that droid that was on the, and I'd be like, I completely missed it. And so they were able to market successfully anything that came out of those movies. Yep. And now it's character driven, whether or not, if the character is a success enough to actually sell a toy. But the other thing too is this thing was going to cost $500. I mean, okay, so now you're going into niche marketing too. It's like, how many people can actually afford to, and forgive me for saying it, to throw away $500 for a toy that doesn't work.
But this goes to Vader's point of like the high-end collectible market where
there's yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
sure,
Star Wars has a huge base of like high-end collectors out there.
But they need to justify this $500 price tag. I'm sorry.
There's no
because I saw a metal Masters of the Universe He-Man replica sword coming out that's the same price, right? And that's solid metal. Like, you can't tell me that there's got to be more to this thing for $5. Does it spin and lift my ass off the ground? It's better for $500.
What they're not showing you is that it also vibrates.
Well, for the ladies, I guess that's
also a sex toy.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I mean. If this franchise can't sell merch because of the character associated with it, it really shows where it's gone. And these people aren't racist. It's the fact that they're making stuff for people that don't exist, and the people that say they do exist and they're all behind it and everything. They just like Vader said, they're put your money where your mouth is, and they're not there to support it. I really think that they're being paid to say how much they love this and everything, and then when it actually comes to it, well, I'm not spending money on that.
It's just telling to me that they can successfully crowdfund something like the sail barge for thousands of dollars, and they can't do it for this lightsaber.
Well, let's compare it to another franchise.
Yeah, but people love lightsabers. I mean, I know tons of people that buy lightsabers.
Oh yeah, there's people with lightsaber fetishes.
The description of the lightsaber. We were talking about what it does. I mean, yeah, there you go.
The one over there.
Does that one vibrate too?
It does. It does vibrate. I had to add that feature though.
Straight from the
It's called the
website.
prostate saber.
Okay, you guys.
Sorry, man.
Sorry. Straight from the website, it says this roleplay item comes with the features you love, including progressive ignition, blaster deflect, battle clash effect, and more. Describe
Blaster
Hasbro.
deflect?
Yeah, whatever that means. This coordinated attack technology in the hilt and both blades installed, LED animation and effect sequences play out across the entire 6.5-foot lightsaber. Battle the Jedi with both blades at play or just one. You're in control. I mean, sounds
AK,
cool,
it
right?
does the same damn thing that their $20 lightsabers at Walmart do.
Yeah, I feel like the target demographic for this this lightsaber is the same people who collect Rose Tico and Admiral Holdo figurines.
Who are these people besides Ethan Van Sciver?
Yeah, I mean, and aren't those just kindling to start fires? I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say but no, like compare it to like I guess they did a replica from Ghostbusters Afterlife, right? This is a movie replica. This is actually a specific one, the one that Phoebe puts together in the movie. They actually to where you can pull it apart and put it together like she did. I don't know the original price on this because it already sold out, but there's people already selling it on eBay for $1,800.
Wow!
And that movie only made $200 million in the box office, right?
Dude, if that thing was released right now, it would be. If it released,
Well, that's a different conversation. But no, just in comparison, because I think if somebody's selling that for $1,800, I'm willing to bet that those things were going for like $600-700 easy to begin with.
Yeah,
at least. So, like right there tells you there is absolutely no demand for this thing at all, because they only made only sold like 25 of them or something like that. It was, I don't know, it was a little more than that, but it was like
with the lightsaber, I think like 1,400 or something. Out of the
I was
5,000
like
that they wanted.
1,400. I was gonna say 2,500. I thought it was, but yeah.
Well, they got like 1,400 backers, but they haven't sold any of these because they haven't gone into production.
Well, you know what I mean, but yeah.
I think
culture.
People could print these too, couldn't they? I mean, you just get
you can 3D print them.
People, why spend the money?
Culture, what's your take on this? Why do you think everyone hates Riva so much?
Well, I don't know about that. Like you said, I mean, it comes down to everything. Why does everybody hate the new Captain Marvel so much? I mean, it's like, the character's uninteresting, OP. The story itself didn't make a lot of sense. I mean, pick one. But
the actress sucks.
Well, I can't speak to that because I didn't watch the show. All right, I'm only going to speak to the things that I know. Right, the story was poorly done. Regardless of what her performance is, but there's when I look at these things, my analytical side of my brain goes, hey, this particular show just doesn't have broad appeal. Things that don't have broad appeal don't sell. And the problem is this show was marketed in a way in what I call anti-marketing, marketed in a way that it went out and it was already attacking fans. It was already attacking the idea of Star Wars. It was already, if you don't like this show, you're whatever bad word we're going to call you this week. And that doesn't make broad appeal happen. And were there people watching the show? Sure. Did viewership fall off as Tom described? Yes. So whether or not the character was liked or not, if this was called, and I think Brian suggested it first, if this was called an Inquisitor lightsaber, maybe Matt did, I don't know. But if it was called an Inquisitor lightsaber, it might have sold. If it just attaching it to this show caused the problem, because Inquisitor's been around for a long time, and they're beloved by people that have been watching Star Wars forever, like old guys like me who saw it in the theater when it was just called Star Wars.
I just want to point out something about Moses Ingram's performance in Obi-Wan. So I know that she's from Broadway, and she's widely regarded as a very good Broadway actress. One thing, as a filmmaker, someone who's directed actors before and stuff like that, one thing I can say is that it's not always the actor's fault if they deliver a bad performance, because a lot of it has to do with direction. Like if I forget the name, Deborah Chow, if she was there and she was like, Moses, I want you to be shouting this, and Moses gives her the performance that she wants, the criticism should be directed at Deborah Chow as a bad director as
Right.
opposed to Moses Ingram as a bad actress. Also, the writing, like a lot of those lines that she had to deliver and a lot of like the character arc stuff, it was just like very badly written. So you have bad writing, bad direction, and that usually translates to bad performance.
Yeah.
It's very hard for a good actor to rise above those two things in order to deliver a good performance despite everything going around that. Real quick, Tom, I want you to have the final word on this. What do you think about the future of Star Wars collectibles? If this is, is this the beginning of a trend? What's going on?
I mean, I'm starting to wonder, because I did say that Obi-Wan is going to be the make it or break it for the main when it comes to Star Wars. I mean, will it go away? Will it like ever never make money again? Will it fade into obscurity? Oh no, it's got enough fans that are like those diehards that will eat up just about anything. About 1,400 of them. But
That's
no,
it.
I mean
1,400.
Yeah, that's about it. No, like Obi-Wan to me was kind of like, I compared it to Picard. Like a lot of people didn't pay attention to Star Trek Discovery and stuff like that. But a lot of fans came back to Picard, and that's when we had a lot of like, oh my God, now I see what you guys are talking about, and all that kind of stuff. And that really did a lot of damage to the Star Trek legacy overall. And this is similar in a sense because you have two OG characters coming back, or well, technically more than that, but you know what I mean, like Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen and whatnot, and just the way it was handled. And I agree, like Deborah Chow was a poor choice to begin with. Whoever wrote this did a horrible job. Favreau and Filoni, whatever scripts they axed, I wonder how bad those were.
This was the fourth set of scripts. I'm sorry. I
have no idea. But yeah, well, the original idea was axed because it was too much like Mandalorian and nobody noticed until they looked at these scripts, I guess, evidently, is what it sounded like from the report. I think it was in Deadline. But no, like, I think that the future of Star Wars is very grim. But it's not done for. Do I ever think it's going to reach the heights again? No. This was its last chance to do that. They've already shot the chance in the foot of bringing back the OG cast. There really isn't any other remaining original, in quotations, because even Ewan McGregor and Hayden come from the prequels. I mean, there really isn't any more original characters left over that you can really do anything with. They tried with Boba Fett, and that failed miserably.
Well, apparently there's Padme.
Who wants to watch that, though?
I will never watch that.
Wasn't she in the prequels? She was, right?
She was, yeah.
I don't remember.
Taika Waititi doesn't remember it either, so
Yeah.
no, I think he was joking on that, but yeah.
Yeah,
I think he was just saying that just to take a shot at the prequels, but I got to admire him for that a little bit still, because I still
even
got
if
a
he
love-hate
hasn't seen
relationship
him,
with those.
it just shows that he has good taste in movies.
Well, I think he literally said that just to take a crack. Like, if you read the whole quote, the way it comes out, look, Taika Waititi is a fucking troll.
Yeah.
Okay, everything you can't take a damn thing he says seriously. He's also out there going, I've never even seen a script for Star Wars, yet we're also hearing that his movie's fast-tracked. He's one of the script writers. So if you haven't seen the script, then that means either A, you haven't written a damn word yet, or you're just messing with us, which I think is what he's doing.
Yeah, of course.
So at this point, I think that's kind of where the future is going to go. It's going to meander for a few years. Maybe something will hit, but I just don't see it ever hitting those heights again like it did. I mean, the goodwill of the fans has been really shat on like Johnny Depp's bed.
So what you're saying is Star Wars is dead. Long live the Filoniverse. Is that what you're saying?
The Filoniverse. Yeah. I mean, and Favreau is kind of under his control too, and Pablo Hidalgo is still there, and he's kind of the keeper of the
douchebaggery,
the lore or the canon, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that too, douchebaggery. And I think there's a correlation there, right? Because Mandalorian was something that most people enjoyed.
Yep.
And it didn't really trample on any kind of area that canon fell into. But that as soon as they did Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi and things that had canon attached to them, and they had to go through Pablo Hidalgo, then all of a sudden they come out like shit. So that's where that's the only common denominator I can find there. That or just Mandalorian was a fluke. I mean, because I didn't hate the second season, but I definitely noticed the downturn in the quality, like most people did too.
Yeah, I also think a lot of those productions were rushed. The first season, Mandalorian, they took their time, got it right. Seasons 2, Book of Boba Fett, a lot of
Book of
COVID
Boba Fett was
restrictions.
a mop-up job. It was to try and buy them time between.
I mean, like all these things were rushed. Even Obi-Wan was rushed because they had.
Why
to
are
go
they
on
rushing though?
hiatus.
What's the reason behind that?
Because Disney Plus needs content.
They are terrified of using their old stuff if you look at their catalog that's available on Disney Plus, they shy away from anything that could be, put them in the spotlight for being called isphobes and any of the other stuff.
Yeah, but to rush
Well, not only that,
dangerous.
Disney destroyed its classic film catalog.
Oh, they
I don't think they realized what they were doing when they made Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because when you put Bambi right next to Little Mermaid 2, it's nothing more than content then.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the first thing they should have said was, we're going to have Disney content on here, but you're only going to get one Disney classic a month.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's only going to be on there for 30 days. They should have done something like that. And I can't blame them for that. Yeah, like a vault program where like every month you're going to get one of the classics. You don't know which one it's going to be until that month starts. But this month it's Pinocchio. This month it's Bambi. This month it's Peter Pan, whatever. But
Real quick, we got a super chat from R to the Icky for $1.99. Riva is bossy for
Bocce.
boring and poorly written. Bocce. I don't know what bocce means.
Does he speak bocce?
Boring and poorly written. Okay, bocce.
Oh, that's it. Good pull. All right.
Come on, you guys Star Wars nerds or not, man? Come on.
Right?
Seriously.
I'm not.
I am fluent in over 567
Does he speak
million
bocce?
forms of
I keep trying to tell everyone I don't really like Star Wars. I just like I like the first 3 movies. Everything after that was sort of like meh.
That's
So
one of the first
after
movies.
episodes 4 and 5, there's a significant decline in quality.
I agree.
So, guys, thank you so much for coming out today for our Saturday morning live stream. We really appreciate it. I want to get your final thoughts and let people know where they can find you. We'll just go around to starting with Professor Sean. Final thoughts on all the topics we talked about today, and where can people find out more about you?
Well, my final thought is I think there should be lessons learned from trying to force feed too many laxatives into the golden goose. But the trend seems to be turning around, like Eric July's comic book and everything. I think this is creating your own content, and I've been saying that for a while. Become the new creators, become the new culture, because you can't rely upon the franchises to do it. So it's time for new stuff, and it's time for a new renaissance. As far as me and social media, I don't do it. I don't care. Nobody cares what I think, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. So, but you can find me at the College of Southern Nevada in the videography and film program, where I'm trying to shape and mold the young minds of future filmmakers. So
I'm scared.
Yes,
right.
Be afraid.
All right. Culture Casino, final thoughts, and where can people find out more about you?
I have a YouTube channel, I have a Rumble channel, I have an Odyssey channel. I've got a second channel that's a DIY channel. I'm a lot of places under Culture Casino. So check all those places out. I'm on the socials and all that. I'm on my channel 9 live streams a week on my channel. I'm on a lot of other people's channels, including Midnight's Edge After Dark, yada, yada, yada. And so you can usually find me at some point in the day, even if it's just on one of the 4 videos I release every week. So that's it. No more. That's my elevator. I'm done.
All right. Brian from the Popcast, final thoughts, and where can people find more about you?
Yeah. Final thoughts are you can find me at your guys' house, I'm assuming.
Not till next month, man. Not till
next month at some point. Yeah, I don't really like any Star Wars after the originals. I admire some of it, but really a lot of it's been bad. Disney and a lot of streaming services are continuing the sin of constantly pushing out content upon content upon content and not worrying less about the quality of the content versus the quantity. But that reminds me of like a quote that I'm pretty sure was wrong, but everyone thinks it's a real quote now. But Tolkien said something about only evil people regurgitate content. I'm sorry, old ideas. and when they do, it creates like this twisted version of those old ideas. And so with Disney and a lot of these companies, that's what that we talk about every week. They continue to sort of regurgitate bad ideas, and they filter it through like this new lens of like sort of selfish, self-entitled, I'm the main story of character of my story kind of mentality, and it doesn't really track. And that's what a lot of these companies are doing. And you can find me at the Popcast. So youtube.com/the Popcast. Our video launches tomorrow, and it talks a lot about that in regard to the Star Trek universe.
All right. And Tom Connors, final thoughts on the topics we discussed today, and where can people find out more about you?
Well, babies come from storks.
Wow.
And no.
Don't be a storkist. Okay.
That's right. For those who don't, I wasn't clear enough. I meant Little Mermaid 2, the sequel, not the original film. Like I seen somebody, I like both those movies. Yeah. Well, my point was, is they putting it right next to other things. Like I should say the new Rescue Rangers movie then was a better example, maybe, because that thing was trash. But no, you can find me at Midnight's Edge After Dark, and all over, hanging all over kinds of different places. That's why I'm always late anywhere I go. Because I'm always busy doing something somewheres. But thanks for having me. It was fun.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Matt Vader 74. Why don't you give us your final thoughts, and where can people find you on the social?
I just want to end the podcast from one of my favorite quotes from a movie ever, and that is boys have a penis and girls have a vagina.
Girls have a vagina.
I don't know why I wanted to say that. It just felt,
Yeah. And if our channel is taken off YouTube,
yes,
now you know why.
It's from it's from Kindergarten Cop, it's just how it is. Yeah. Guys, you can find me at Matt Vader 74 and here on Salty Nerd Podcast every week doing this. And on our every episode we release that Kadish releases on a daily basis. What are we doing this week? We just finished up Indiana Jones, the movie that shall not be named.
We finished up Good Directors, Bad Movies last week.
Right.
And this week it's movies about making porn.
That's right. Movies about making porn.
So Zach and Mary Make a Porno, Orgasmo, and The Girl Next Door are the movies that we covered.
I think Zach and Miri is probably the least appreciated film of any of those, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck Kevin Smith.
We definitely talk about that. But to go to Sean's point about making our own culture and stuff like that, I do want to announce right here on the live stream that I will be releasing a short story very soon, maybe this next week. And it is called Wade, a Star Wars story. And it is the tale of the greatest Star Wars character to ever be created, who survives the crash at the Fortress Inquisitorius and goes on to have his own adventures and radically shape the events of the Star Wars universe. And part 1 of that shall be released very soon.
You're just
I hope you guys enjoy that. It was very fun to write, and I've got numerous episodes planned. If it's successful, if people really enjoy it, so be on the lookout for that, because it's going to be good. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much. Especially thank those of you who gave us super chats. We really appreciate your support, and to everyone who participated in the chat. Really love you guys. Thank you all so much for watching our stuff and supporting us and all that good stuff. And thank you to our expert panel. It was great having you guys on. Let us know in the comments what you think about the new format. Like we got away from the Star Trek Orville type stuff just to kind of mix things up. We want your feedback because we want to be continually improving stuff. But until next time, everyone, stay salty, my friends, and we will see you next Saturday.